Hey everyone, this is Andy, your course facilitator. Step 4 of the Tech Savvy Teacher uh, project, I guess, is weird words are your friend. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, in the larger picture, it really means blog. If you're not familiar what a blog is, I'm sure you've probably seen one. And essentially, blogs, I guess in a nutshell, are websites. But the idea and where blogs kind of started was that they're websites that other people can, I guess, contribute comments to. So you put a post and somebody else can comment. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. Blogs at this point can be just informational pieces or websites, but in the most cases, they're a little more dynamic. So why would you use a blog as a teacher? Well, for a couple different reasons. First of all, I think we're teachers, we're highly educated. And as highly educated people, writing is a good thing. And a big part of blogging is that step of writing. And I think we'd all agree, and we probably say this to our students in many cases. You know, if you want to be a good student, you need to read. If you want to become a good reader, you need to write, and vice versa. I mean, all of those kind of come together, I think, to help the educational process. So why do we stop writing when we get to be teachers? I think in a lot of cases we kind of put our writing hats off the shelf and we don't really put things, and yet we are experts at our craft. And I think blogging can be a great way, even if you want to create a blog for your own personal space, to uh, you know put down what you're doing in your class. So it doesn't have to be shared with anybody, it can be totally private. But it also, I think the point of a blog rather than a journal is to make it somewhat public, and you can choose your audience. It doesn't have to be your class. But then if you think even to a bigger picture, getting your students to write a blog is another big step that I think you'll definitely want to take. So let's just talk about your own personal blogging. So I've created a couple blogs, and these are just some examples. So for me personally, one of my EdTech blogs is called Coffee with a Geek. And what I do with this blog is I post a couple different things here. I do some kind of movie reviews. I love movies. But I also do interviews with teachers from not only around the area, but around the world. I've even interviewed some teachers from Australia and India. So I've got a pretty good uh, kind of base where I interview people, and then I post their interviews on my on this blog called Coffee with a Geek. So that's a way I use a blog professionally. Another way I use blogs, I have another blog. It's a whole separate one, and this one's called Movies I Want My Children to See. Now, I know this may be more of a personal style blog, but there's movies that I've seen throughout my life that I think are valuable for my kids to see, and I want to just tell them why. We all know I have younger kids now, and a lot of the movies that I watch are not going to be movies for kids. But so I've created this blog so that one day I'll share this with my kids when they're older, and they'll be able to watch some of these movies and kind of hopefully maybe learn a little bit about me and learn a little bit about things that I thought were important, and the movies that I liked. So you certainly could do something like this for your students. Books I'd like you to read throughout life. I bet you a lot of your students would be really interested in the books that you read. And if you post it and then share it out with your students, whether you're an ELA teacher or a science teacher, put the books that you like, put the books that have meaning to you, put the movies, TV shows, all of those things can be really beneficial, and I think would get your students to kind of see you in a new light, but it also give you a new avenue for your students. Another blog that I use, I'm part of what's called the Technology Integrators Forum, and we post a lot of different ideas, and we have meetings of educators throughout, which of course, if you're a teacher in Western New York, you're able to join us for these meetings. But the Tech Integrators Forum, after every meeting, I kind of post out what we did within those meetings. And again, this is what's known as a Blogger or Blogspot type of thing. So if you go back to the resources, Blogger is a Google created blogging site, and that's what I use to create Coffee with a Geek, movies for my kids, and also this TIFF Talk blog. So Blogger is a platform that's pretty easy to use. It creates a pretty, I'd say pretty user-friendly and clean blog, although I will say it's probably, of all the blogs I share, a little more tricky as far as user-friendliness. But if you kind of tinker with it a little bit, you'll become kind of a pro at that. The next one I'm going to share, and Blogger, if you want to make your blog if you want to post your blog and make it live and create your own URL, you can do that as well. They are free. Blogger by itself is free. As long as you go with blogspot.com at the end of your blog, that's free. But if you want to create your own domain, usually those run around $12. Another blog that I've used is a blog site called Weebly. And Weebly, if you want something to start off with, Weebly might be a good place to start. Again, it's free for you to use. And if you don't mind having just weebly.com at the end of the name of your blog post, it's going to be free. So again, feel free to dig into that. So that is Weebly, and there's an example of one of the Weeblies I've created for a project I'm doing. And again, it can be more like a website. This one's pretty much runs as a website, but this has various tabs. It's nice graphics. These are really nice as far as the graphical interface. So if you want to make something with a little more pizzazz, Weebly is a good one. Here's another one that I've created from a site called Wix. Again, if you want to do the freebie version, it's going to have to be wixsite.com at the end of it. So again, you'll have to deal if you want a really nice URL. But this is one of those. This is really dynamic. Wix sites run off of HTML5, so it makes it really dynamic. Again, really easy for you to use. And again, they're pretty nice. A lot you can do with those. Rounding out some of the other things that I looked at, Wikispaces is a wiki, which people have gone away from wikis because they are a little more trickier to use. But that's just an option. WordPress is another type of blogging site. There's also a site called Tumblr, which is what they call kind of a microblog, which will kind of break things down into smaller pieces. So there's other ones out there, but there's some really great, these are just some of the resources to get you started for. I mean, blogging can be really powerful. I really wish teachers would check that out. Oh, here's a blog that I created with Weebly as well, and I created my own URL. That one was more expensive, about $40 for the more advanced one, but it is free to get started. So this is a blog using Weebly. So I hope those are resources for you. I hope ideas. You guys are really important, even if you want to start it off as a blog about, gardening or, great recipes that you have. We're all experts at a lot of different things. And again, you're an expert teacher. Why not showcase your expertise through a blog? And again, if you want to start off in a personal way, like gardening and making recipes, start there as well. Once you kind of get the hang of blogging, they're really not that difficult. And if you want to start developing a blog and a following, people will start responding to your posts and ideas. So, and again, get your students long-term thinking about blogging. Kid blogs is one that I'll mention later on, is getting kids creating a blog. Getting kids creating about their expertise as well is a great thing. So that is this step 4, weird words are your friend. And the challenge word for this one is blogger. So make sure you use that as your secret code. Thanks, everybody.